At this roadside juice stall, a worker operating a sugarcane press gets too close to the feeding area. Never, ever feed produce into rotating rollers using your hands directly or while wearing loose clothing. No part of your body should enter the feeding zone at any time, so always use a push stick or feeding tool to guide the sugarcane into the machine. Reversing on unstable ground, a telehandler operator hits a soft spot that compromises the machine's balance. This sudden shift places a worker standing on the door frame in a very unsafe position. Never, ever allow anyone to ride on the outside of a machine, especially on the steps or door frame. Telehandlers rely on a rigid stability triangle that changes rapidly on uneven terrain. If a tire sinks, the machine can tilt before anyone has time to react. In such cases, anyone standing on the door frame has no secure platform to rely on. One seat means one operator. There are absolutely no exceptions for passengers clinging to the outside. Additionally, you must inspect the ground conditions before moving, as a 4-ton machine on soft soil has almost no margin for error. Inside this supply shop, a worker is handling a cluster of high-pressure gas cylinders. Suddenly, one cylinder experiences an uncontrolled pressure release. Never, ever handle or store compressed gas cylinders without securing them upright and using protective valve caps. A cylinder contains enormous internal pressure. If the valve becomes damaged, the escaping gas can cause the tank to move unpredictably, sometimes forcefully enough to shift toward nearby objects. In rare cases, a cylinder may release pressure due to heat or impact, creating a strong reaction in the surrounding area. Cylinders must be kept upright, secured, capped, and handled with extreme care at all times. While a forklift operator works to offload cargo, the truck driver makes a critical mistake and begins pulling the trailer away before receiving proper clearance. Never, ever move a vehicle at a loading dock without receiving a direct, confirmed, all clear from the forklift operator. Silent assumptions are unsafe. Relying on noise, timing, or the belief that the job is finished can lead to major safety issues. There must be a positive exchange of communication, like returning the driver's keys or switching the dock light from red to green before the brakes are released. If you don't have verbal confirmation or a visible green light, the truck remains parked. Silence is never permission to move. Standing in the middle of this busy yard, a worker completely tunes out his surroundings, unaware of the massive wheel loader approaching behind him. Never, ever turn your back on active machinery or let your guard down inside a vehicle path. Situational awareness is the difference between a close call and a serious incident. Had this worker been alert, he would have noticed the loader and stepped aside. Heavy equipment has large blind areas, and operators often cannot see pedestrians near the tires. If you zone out, you become extremely difficult for the operator to detect. Your eyes and ears are your best defense. Never rely solely on a driver to notice you. Inside this factory, a worker attempts to clear an obstruction from a running machine, creating a risky situation that could have been avoided. Never, ever bypass a safety guard or attempt to clear an obstruction while the machine is running. Moving gears, belts, and rollers creates contact zones that are extremely risky. Once a hand enters the hazard area, the mechanical force is far stronger than anything a person can counter. Without a physical guard or an emergency stop engaged, the machine will continue cycling without recognizing the hazard. Your hands are your livelihood, not tools to test a machine's power. Always lock out the equipment before reaching inside, because the machinery cannot stop itself unless you intervene. Inside this repair shop, workers were relaxed, and everything appeared routine, until a sudden pressure release created a dangerous situation. Never, ever inflate a truck tire without using a safety cage or a remote air chuck. Overinflating a tire can lead to excessive pressure buildup. If the bead doesn't stay seated or the locking ring separates, the air can release extremely quickly. This sudden release can cause the tire or its components to move unpredictably, creating a serious hazard for anyone nearby. A tire cage is the only tool designed to contain unexpected pressure releases, so never inflate a loose wheel on the open floor. In this busy wash bay, while trying to take a shortcut across the service pit, a worker attempts to step over the wide gap instead of walking around, and quickly learns that it was an unsafe decision. Never, ever try to jump over or step across an open maintenance pit. The edges of service pits are often coated in oil, grease, or water, making them extremely slippery. Trying to bridge the gap with a single stride is dangerous. Taking the long way around is the only safe option. At this extraction site, a dump truck driver attempts to unload while the rig is jackknifed, leading to immediate instability. Never, ever engage the dump mechanism when the tractor is angled against the trailer. A jackknifed position compromises the vehicle's stability triangle. As the load is raised, even a small shift can twist the trailer. Without the cab aligned to support the weight, the entire rig can become unstable within seconds. Alignment is your first line of defense. Always straighten the cab and trailer completely on flat, stable ground before unloading. Two workers step into the operating area of a cycling press, timing their movements with the machine's rhythm. But when one worker hesitates for just a moment too long, the situation instantly becomes unsafe. Never ever work inside the operating area of a machine running on an automatic cycle. Relying on timing instead of using a physical lockout is extremely risky. Automatic presses operate on fixed intervals. They do not detect when someone is in the way. If you remain inside past the cycle, the machine will activate as programmed, applying significant force without recognizing obstacles. You cannot rely on timing alone. If you need to reach inside, you must break the safety circuit or lock out the power completely. Trying to match the machine's rhythm is a shortcut that can quickly create a dangerous situation. High in this tree, a worker balancing on a narrow branch attempts to cut through a limb without any proper safety gear. Never, ever free climb a tree to perform work. Relying on branches for support is extremely risky. They may be rotten, slippery, or brittle, and they can give way without warning. Without a secured ladder, an aerial lift, or a proper rope and saddle system, you have almost no reliable points of support if the branch doesn't hold. If you can't reach it from the ground, you need a stable platform, not a foothold in the tree. A fall from this height can be extremely dangerous, and proper climbing gear is the only barrier between you and the ground. Standing on a stack of slabs, a worker watches a crane lift a massive load right next to him. The clamp lost its secure grip, creating a sudden hazard. Never, ever stand on a surface that is adjacent to or connected to an active lifting operation. A shifting load doesn't just affect the point of contact, it sends vibrations through the entire stack. If you are standing on a connected surface, even the movement alone can make you unsteady, regardless of whether the load makes physical contact with you. Position yourself on stable, independent ground away from the lift zone. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.